Okay, so we're going to go ahead and cover how to program the psflash. I'll mark this site up on here in a card or something, but anyways, archive.org, and this is the one we want here, ES40 1211E8A psflash. It'll run the ARC, but you can't actually run Windows NT, so once more again, for whatever you're hoping for to do, it's not going to happen here, but it's just more so to show just how far along QEMU was. And when it's all said and done, this is where it will get. This will have the ARC or alpha BIOS up and running. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start program the flash. So the first step is we need to create a psflash disk image. It's pretty self-explanatory. And then in the archive there should be a file called program.cmd, and that should instantly take us into the process to start programming. On a normal DEC alpha you would use floppy disks, but the floppy emulation doesn't work properly in this version of QEMU, so we're going to mount the floppy disks as hard disks. This will take a little while to initialize. I'm pretty sure I might have disabled the memory test bypass code because I didn't want any shortcuts, because I was interested in ARC and I didn't want any weird things to happen. So this will take not too long. It's only 64 megabytes, but it's still very slow. Alright, so we're finally at the boot prompt at the ROM. So you can see from my notes, take a look at the dev, and we should see 4 hard drives, A0, A1, B0, B1. It does look at a CD-ROM drive for files at some part during the program, so a junk CD-ROM, any CD-ROM that doesn't have many files is the way to go. So we're going to go ahead and boot off the first hard drive, and this will load the flash program, and this does take about a minute as it resets the system, reinitializes the video card, loads its own device drivers. It's not a non-trivial program. As you can see, there's the video reinitialize, and now it's going to start probing device drivers. As you can see, the DQA, DQB, it's all normal and incredibly slow. Now it's going to check disks for firmware files. I'm not sure how to shortcut this to make it run faster. I just know that doing it this way works. So you just gotta hang patient. Okay, we have no choice but to hit enter here, and then it will just basically fail and then bring up the prompt so we can start doing the updates. Okay, so now if we list our flash, it's empty and we have nothing. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to flash the SROM, that code onto the flash. I guess just for being complete. So we're just going to go ahead and type in update SROM. Yes, we're going to program it, and it's just like that, very quick. Now if we do a list, we've got one of the 3 programmed. Normally the SROM's read at boot time, so it's like a PAL code thing to deal with the system, but the SRM can work with no PAL, as it will load its own PAL, but most emulators then shortcut it with their own PAL code, and that's why nothing works. So As they say, premature optimization kills everything. So now we're going to go ahead and update the alpha bias. Path fat DQA1. So this will tell it to read it from a fat disk, the file name, and what drive. So yes, we're going to update the alpha bias. Now if we do a list, we can see the two are programmed. So the SRM is loaded external, so we technically don't have to do this, but I guess just for the sake of being complete, let's go do it. So we're going to go ahead and update SRM path for fat drive CL67 SRM.exe. And of course this is on DQB1, which is the third IDE hard drive. So yes, we'll update the SRM. Now if we do a list, we have all three programs, so our alpha is now fully programmed. This thing doesn't exit and reboot cleanly, so I'm just going to go ahead and restart it. But from this point, we have a fully programmed psflash. So I'm going to close the emulator, rerun it again, and just wait for the SRM to boot. Okay, now we can enter ARC by just typing ARC, and it will load the firmware from the PSRAM. I guess I should mention that it's all compressed on there, so it decompresses it into RAM, so yeah, this takes a while. And if everything works, this is what you'll get. It's a picture of the system. And then alpha bias will start testing the memory and then initializing the disk controllers, which this version doesn't have the SCSI enabled, so it's just IDE. I guess just for completion's sake, we'll just let it finish initializing. And I guess it's worth noting it is this slow on a real computer too. And there you go. We're up in alpha bias. I think you can run setup if it hasn't crashed. It's hard to say, it's very picky. But again, it's not like you can do terribly much with this. Oops, I guess I crashed it. Anyways, yeah, that's about it. It's not going to do anything very useful.